Ilias Donte Topuria. Origin, Nick's system raised between Levski and transient routes. Ilias was shaped in the spaces between power structures. From a young age, Ilias learned to rely on self-agency. He trained not because he wanted conflict, but because conflict was unavoidable in frontier systems. Piloting, EVA maneuvering, ground tactics, and survival protocols became second nature, not as expressions of dominance, but as tools of autonomy. He refused contracts from criminal groups like the Headhunters. He saw how such organizations commodified chaos, how they created instability and then profited from resolving it. To Ilias, that wasn't freedom. It was dependency disguised as strength. He never pledged himself to the UEE. He respected order when it served people and rejected it when it served itself. Bureaucracy, conscription, and political abstraction never sat right with him. He had seen too many lives reduced to numbers in after-action reports. Instead, Ilias carved out a third path. He took work that sat in the gray margins of the verse. Independent recovery operations, civilian escort without allegiance, emergency extraction, long-haul navigation through unstable space, protection that ended once the threat passed. What makes Ilias dangerous isn't aggression, it's clarity. He doesn't escalate, he ends things. By the time he crossed paths with Kael Rimor, Ilias had already survived enough to recognize patterns in people. He wasn't impressed by ships, titles, or ambition. What caught his attention was Kael's refusal to become bitter, his willingness to adapt, learn, and shoulder responsibility without demanding authority. Sidus Rimor didn't feel like an empire in the making. It felt like a deliberate structure, one built by someone still asking why before asking how much. That was enough for Ilias to stay, not as a subordinate, not as a hired gun, but as an equal who chooses to stand beside something, not because he must, but because it aligns. Kael stepped off the stairs and into Wally's, slowing without realizing it. The light hit him first, neon gold and ocean blues washing over polished floors and living greenery. Palm fronds swayed beneath artificial skylight, and the loud pulse of music threaded through the air like a second atmosphere. This wasn't a bar, it was a crossroads. He walked deeper, letting the noise pass through him. Pilots laughed too loud, traders leaned in too close. Someone cheered for a story already halfway forgotten. Morning, night, none of it mattered here. Space erased schedules, and Wally's never closed because the verse never slept. Then the bartender caught his eye. The bartender glanced at the order and scoffed. Light, cheap. He laughed and broke into an exaggerated chicken dance, wings flapping. Kael responded the only way he knew how. A slow theatrical wind-up. Then the finger. Then Kael spotted Ilias across the bar. He lifted a hand and made an awkward, unmistakable gesture, half wave, half summoning signal. Subtlety was never his strength. Ilias noticed and smiled. Wally's was full of strange orbits, and Ilias drew attention whether he wanted it or not. Kael greeted him with a hand gesture and a few words of thanks. Nothing dramatic, just honest. Reclaiming alone had been heavy work. Having someone else shoulder it mattered more than the credits. Ilias gave a thumbs up, easy and sincere. No problem. Across the counter, Feathers drifted back into the conversation. Too close, too comfortable. A comment slipped in where it wasn't invited, a grin lingering like it belonged there. Kael shut it down once, without ceremony. When Feathers tried again moments later, the answer didn't change. Kael finally said it out loud. The ASD run wasn't just a loss, it felt like a personal failure. Ilias didn't let the weight sit. He grinned, rolled his shoulders, and flexed like the whole thing was absurd. Let me be the one who hits things. Morning on Microtech was quiet and pale. The city hadn't woken up yet. Cold air, clean light, the kind of silence that resets the mind. Ilias broke it first. Food, then we go. The ASD run wasn't over, it was postponed. $1 million UEC still on the table. They walked forward together. Clear roles. Clear intent. But this time, no one going in alone. Garcia's greens looked convincing enough. Bright panels, living walls, menus promising healthy greens, fresh tonics, citrus rush. Kael scanned the menu. Bremen bowl, fungami, citrus rush smoothie. None of it inspired confidence, but hunger makes compromises. The kind of place that wanted credit for intention alone. The attendant behind the counter didn't look up, didn't ask, didn't blink, just kept typing at the surface like it had personally offended him. So he helped himself. He twisted the cap, lifted the bottle, steadied his breath, and immediately tasted regret. Sour, flat, wrong. Not bold citrus, not garden fresh, expired. For once, Kael didn't calculate the moment. The bottle left his hand in a clean arc and exploded purple across the counter. Kael moved ahead down the steps, shoulders still tight from nights before. The ASD mission lingered in his thoughts like a bruise, something you didn't talk about unless pressed. Did he fail because he was careless? Was it poor judgment to go alone? Even with one other person, is that still enough? Behind him, Ilias followed with an ease Kael envied. Kael thought about how the mission had gone wrong, how it had felt like standing in the open with nowhere to move. Ilias seemed calm. He seemed unbothered by the looming danger they were walking into. Ilias, steady in his skin, thought about how Kael had walked into something meant for more than one person. That took nerve. But Kael wasn't built to be the blunt edge. He was a thinker, a planner, someone who saw the whole board. But Ilias, he'd be the one who stepped forward when things turned violent. The train station swallowed them in blue light and glass. Reflections slid beneath their feet as they boarded. The doors sealing with a soft hiss. New Babbage towered outside, all steel and snow and scale. Kael stood near the window watching the city move away. He didn't say it out loud, but the thought stayed with him. This was easier with someone beside him. Not just safer, clearer. Sidus Rimor wasn't a solo idea anymore. It had weight now, direction. Ilias sat back, one arm resting loose at his side. Consistent work, he thought, and a partner who didn't posture or bark orders. Someone steady, someone worth showing up for. The view didn't hurt either. The train slowed. The doors opened. Aeroview hangars rose around them, vast and echoing. The ship rested on the hangar floor like a sleeping animal, engine silent, hull catching the light. The Starlancer tack waited ahead, solid and unapologetic. As Ilias walked toward it, Kael pulled up the contract. The glow of the Mobi-glass cut across his face as the details scrolled into view. ASD lab sample, access engineering files, Onyx facility, a clean objective on paper, anything but in reality. This was the moment where intent turned into motion, where Sidus Rimor stopped being an idea discussed over drinks and became something tested under fire. Ilias accepted the mission. The display confirmed it with a quiet chime. Whatever waited for them out there, they wouldn't be meeting it alone. And that, more than the credits, was what mattered.
So, that last upload was useful, but we still don't know why a twisted mind like Dr. Yorick was revisiting his old stomping grounds. If you can find the next file he accessed in the engineering sector, it might paint us a clearer picture. I'll leave you to it.
Kael didn't rush. He walked the length of the hangar with the weight of the last attempt still sitting in his chest. The ship loomed over him, familiar and unforgiving. Steel, silence, memory. Failure had a way of echoing in places like this. Ilias was already there. Of course he was. Already moving. Already ready. Already acting like this was just another morning. Kael stopped for a moment, watching him suit up. Calm, unbothered. Without a word, Kael joined him. Armor came on piece by piece. Practiced motions, muscle memory doing what the mind didn't want to think about yet. The helmet sealed. The world narrowed. Fully suited now, and Ilias was somehow still grinning like this was a celebration. He cheered and lifted his arms with exaggerated confidence, like he was about to step onto a stage instead of into a firefight. He moved with too much energy, and somehow that helped. Kael didn't say it out loud, but the tension eased, just a fraction. Enough to breathe.
Here we are. One space, as promised.
Ilias wasn't pretending this mission was easy. He was reminding Kael that he didn't have to carry it alone. And this time, they were going in, together. The ship rose, slow and deliberate, leaving steel and routine behind. New babbage fell away beneath them, grids of industry shrinking into geometry, then memory. Atmosphere thinned. Gravity loosened its grip. Above it all, the sky widened, endless and indifferent, the kind of silence that reminded Kael why he'd started this in the first place. Not for comfort, not for certainty, but for motion. The drive spooled, stars stretched, and space folded inward. When Euterpe bloomed ahead of them, pale and unforgiving, it wasn't relief he felt, it was recognition. This was the edge again, cold, unwelcoming, exactly where Sidus Rimor belonged. Euterpe came into view like a held breath finally released. Cold, pale, quiet in that way that never really means quiet. The Starlancer tack cut through the dark with practiced ease, engines humming low, confident, almost arrogant. Kael didn't feel arrogant, but the ship did, and for now, that was enough. If he could face a living man eating sandworm full of teeth and murder, he could face men with guns. And this time, he wasn't alone. The atmosphere took hold. Kael felt the familiar tightening in his chest, the moment when the universe reminds you that you're very small and very breakable. He exhaled anyway. He'd felt worse before. The terrain sharpened beneath them, jagged ridges, shadowed valleys. Somewhere down there waited people who decided laws were optional. Thrusters flared, the ship slowed, steady and deliberate. The hangar swallowed them whole, metal echoes dim light. The Starlancer settled like it belonged there, as if it had landed 100 times before. Kael wished he felt the same. The lobby was all clean lines and quiet menace. ASD didn't need to threaten. The walls did it for them. Kael's boots sounded too loud. He decided not to think about that. Deeper in, the air changed. Machines breathed. Lights pulsed. Systems watched. This place didn't care who you were, only what you touched. Kael stared at the terminal. He had absolutely no idea what it did, or where the data went, or who would regret it later. But the buttons responded. Lights blinked. Progress bars moved. That felt encouraging. Maybe luck counted as a skill now. Movement. Too close. Kael reacted before thinking. One clean shot, shock registering after the body dropped. Kael blinked. Huh. Guess he still had it. Ilias finished the second outlaw like punctuation at the end of a sentence. Then the floor vibrated. A sound, deep, long, alive, rolled through the walls. Kael froze just long enough to recognize it. Hungry. Nope,